Welcome to What the Fantasy. I am Brandon Hay at HayB3.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Zareh Rant, and I am at ZCantsFF on Twitter.
So we are going to start doing the Kenny Gainwell piece in little short videos because we are doing a little highlight review, and we'll be putting that on our YouTube channel. So we can go ahead and just jump into some NFL news. So today, Sony Michel got traded to the Rams. So what does that mean for the Patriots and the Rams? I'll let you give your thoughts first.
I think it kind of, for the Patriots to start off, I think it hurts Damien Harris a little bit more than it originally did. Primarily, we were worried about Damien Harris and his goal line touches with Cam Newton as quarterback, because Cam Newton, if you don't know by now, Cam Newton led the league in touches inside the 5. He had more rushing touchdowns last year than he had passing touchdowns, and that was the primary threat to Damien Harris's fantasy production. So with Sony Michel behind him, we weren't worried. We weren't really too worried about Sony Michel. But with Ramondre Stevenson behind him now, it's even more of a threat for goal line touches to be taken away. You always hear people comparing Ramondre Stevenson to LeGarrette Blount. Now, even I don't think that's a perfect linear comparison. Ramondre Stevenson he beats people up when he runs. That's part of his style. While he also has other attributes that sets him apart from LeGarrette Blount, that is one of the primary factors that leads people to compare him to LeGarrette Blount. And when we talk about what LeGarrette Blount did on the Patriots, we know that Bill Belichick fed LeGarrette Blount touches at the goal line all the time. So there's that, which is kind of scary for Damien Harris, kind of lowers him a little bit more, makes him a low-end RB2 for me. I think that Ramondre Stevenson also with his other characteristics, like he has nimble feet, he's got some patience when he runs, he's an underrated pass catcher. He can also now take a little bit of work between the 20s. So this hurts Damien Harris, I think, in the overall picture with this whole acquisition. For the Rams, I think it was just bad on their part. I don't know why Sean McVay did this. I think it was a waste of 2 picks. We don't know what Sean McVay does with players in regards to draft capital, because they went and got Tutu Atwell in the 2nd round, but they're not going to make Tutu Atwell like a primary piece. If we were talking about another team getting a receiver in the 2nd round, then that we would be speaking of that receiver or running back in high regards in terms of fantasy utilization on the field. I think it's going to be something to. I'm avoiding the Rams backfield. I was already hinging on avoiding Darrell Henderson. And this already puts me over the edge with him. I don't want him at his ADP going in the 4th, 5th round, or 6th round. I really don't want. I can't deal with this. I don't want the headache. I'd rather just get another receiver and just take somebody later. Just take another RB2 later. There's no point in doing this. We can project and say, okay, yeah, Darrell Henderson knows this. Darrell Henderson knows the system better. True, but I mean, CJ Anderson didn't know the system that great when he first came in like 3 years ago, when balled out for Sean McVay and just went off into the postseason with CJ Anderson. He wasn't. They just brought him in off the street and he did fine. So I don't think that argument really holds up too well. So with this whole thing, I really don't want to deal with any of the Rams backfield, and it's a shame because it's such a great backfield and offense to have a part of. So if you're gonna take one of the Rams running backs, take the cheapest one. Don't even get invested.
So I'm going to disagree a little bit on both parts. For the Patriots, I think it helps Damien Harris a little bit because Stevenson was going to be there regardless, and Cam Newton, as long as he starts, he's going to get those goal line carries. But at least now he doesn't have Sony Michel taking the 20 to 20s work. So I think this might show that they want to use him as more workhorse there, and maybe he does get some more passing work. Who knows? Because James White's still there, and he's actually looked pretty good in the preseason. But I think this might help Harris a little bit. And then as the Rams, I don't have the luxury to not want Darrell Henderson. I have him on a lot of teams because last year I had him, before they got Cam Akers, and now that Cam Akers is hurt, I'm going to have to start him at some times. I do think this might be kind of like a 60-40, even a 50-50. share with Michelle. I don't really know which would get the goal line carries. Who knows? They might have one of the other running backs get the goal line carries. So, like you said, it's not a great situation for Henderson. I do wonder because Henderson has that injury to his thumb. I wonder if the Rams were kind of worried about that. And I know there was a quote when they were asking about it before this trade if McVay liked where their second running backs were. And he said, we'll have to see, kind of alluding that he wasn't overly impressed, even though I think Funk has showed, some good things in the preseason. But so, yeah, I would say I like Harris a little better, but I don't love either Michelle or Henderson. But since I do have Henderson in quite a few leagues, I might actually have to play him because I tend to wait on running back. So that means I'm in this situation a lot. I usually have very good receivers, and then I have to piece together my running backs. So that's just something I've become accustomed to, and that's just what I have to go through. So the second piece of news was more surprising to me. It was that Teddy Bridgewater was named the starter for the Denver Broncos. I was surprised by this. I thought Drew Lock would get the nod, but I thought both quarterbacks would play this season. I thought they would start with Lock because he's been there. And I think in the preseason, they've played fairly even. So I thought they would stay with Lock, especially since they didn't draft a quarterback. And I think this, with Teddy, it kind of limits the offense, probably helps the running backs, Noah Fant and Jerry Jeudy more. I put out a quick piece for IDP guys, so check that out where it was an instant reaction. But definitely isn't good for what I thought might be a breakout with KJ Hamler because Teddy really doesn't throw the ball deep very much. So what are your thoughts about this news?
Yeah, we spoke about this, I think, like in our first or second episode. I said that I thought Teddy Bridgewater was going to be the starter. I've said that all roads lead to Teddy Bridgewater in Denver. Now, it's not to say Drew Lock's not going to get the start later on in the year for some reason if Teddy Bridgewater falters, which isn't completely out of the question. But I think it's ultimately what Vic Fangio has done by drafting Javonte Williams, by bolstering that defense, adding to the secondary in the draft. I think he wants this safe quarterback who is not going to be so frantic with the ball in his hands. Drew Lock, he has his ups and he has his highs and he has his lows, and Teddy Bridgewater, he's not that volatile. He has lows too, but he's not that volatile. He takes care of the ball a little bit better. And I think he just complements the offense a lot more. Now for fantasy football, what do I think? I think if you're playing in a super flex league, I think Teddy Bridgewater is a great addition. I think there are a lot of pieces on that offense that will accumulate fantasy points. I think he was a fine wide quarterback too on the Panthers last year. He does have some rushing upside. He will scramble the pocket and run for a first down every once in a while. So there is that. So, don't be shy to add him, especially if you've taken Jerry Jeudy or Noah Fant or Javonte Williams or Cortland Sutton. He is a great quarterback to pick up super late in your drafts for a nice quality stack. You can get some double points out of that. So, keep a lookout for that. Don't forget that if you get Jerry Jeudy or one of those offensive weapons, make sure to go get Teddy Bridgewater if you're playing in a super flex league. Don't make him your primary quarterback in a single quarterback league. It's going to backfire pretty hard.
No, I agree. And the only other thing I would like to add is I had Teddy Bridgewater last year for the Panthers. And let me just tell you, the stats might have looked okay or, fairly good and everything. But if you watch those games, it was a rough go sometimes just because he's afraid to make mistakes. The safe option does a lot of checkdowns.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about this. There's that one game against the Buccaneers, I believe, on Thursday night where DJ Moore didn't get a catch till like 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, which is terrible. And that's my worry. And also last year, Teddy Bridgewater had the most touchdowns he's had in the season. And it was only 15. I know he's had injuries and everything, and last year he had 15 touchdowns, but 11 interceptions, which interceptions isn't horrible. But when you only throw 15 touchdowns, that's, not really what you want to see. I understand what they're trying to do, but I don't know if their defense is good enough to win this way. And in that division with the Chiefs, the Chargers, and even the Raiders with Darren Waller, I just think you're going to need to score more points than 14 or 17, and I don't know if they're capable with that. It seems to me they're going with a safe option, and then if it doesn't work, they'll go with the riskier option, which I think is confusing because I personally would want to go with the riskier, and if he turns the ball over too much, then go with the safe option. Because to me, if the safe option doesn't work, it doesn't seem smart to go, with the riskier option. But we'll see how it goes for them. And Fangio, I believe, is coaching for his job. So
let's look at the Broncos schedule real quick, like the first few weeks. All right, so maybe they're taking into consideration the schedule. So I suck at this. All right, so week 1 they get the Giants. I think Teddy Bridgewater can do that. Week 2 they get the Jags. I think Bridgewater can do that. Week 3 they get the Jets. I think Bridgewater can do that. Now here's where it starts to get bumpy. They got the Ravens in week 4. They got the Steelers in week 5. And then they get the Raiders. Then they get the Browns. So it's kind of like a back and forth. And they get Washington. And then they get the Cowboys. So I think Teddy can start out pretty hot. I think he can get some W's for them to open the season. But then the Ravens come to town, so we'll see. How the Ravens developed offensively. Can they open it up? Are they still predictable like they were last year? The Steelers, are they going to need Drew Lock to come in there and start chucking it? So yeah, I think this is going to be. I honestly don't think Bridgewater is going to be the person to kind of like lock it up. Like for example, right when Teddy Bridgewater got announced the starter today, Drew Lock became available in one of my leagues. I wouldn't put a waiver claim in for him. It's a super flex league. So watch out for that. People will be cutting Drew Lock. Expect Drew Lock to start sometime again this year.
No, I agree. And I just wonder, because with those games, with that schedule, he could very easily go 3-0. Yeah. And then say, out of those last 5, what if he, went those, 1-4, so they're 4-4. Even though they've, kind of struggled those last 5 games. I don't know if they move on from Teddy if they're 4-4 and say in the playoff hunt. So in that instance, they might stick with Bridgewater longer. So that's very interesting. But they definitely have to win those first 3 games if they want to make any noise in the season. But it's a very, very manageable schedule. So yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't looked at their schedule yet, so that was a good thought by you. So good job.
Hey. That's why you pay me the big bucks, dude.
All right, next, it came out with Travis Etienne's injury that he has a Liz Frank injury, and they put him on IR, and he's going to miss the season. So I'm going to let you go first because I'm going to have a long rant after your answer. So how do you think this affects the Jags? What do you think about Etienne coming back after this year? Kind of what do you kind of think about the whole situation?
Yeah, well, I mean, you hear the same thing everywhere you go. I mean, it's obviously going to be great for James Robinson. I don't anticipate them really to bring in anybody else, and even if they do, there's nobody really anybody else out there to pose a threat to James Robinson's workload the way a first-round pick in Travis Etienne was. Maybe they bring in Javian Hawkins, who just got cut from the Falcons. I don't know. I think Carlos Hyde is a great stash. If you're in a deep enough league, go pick up Carlos Hyde and just stick him on your roster. Playing with Trevor Lawrence is, is a great quarterback to have the running back of the team. If that quarterback can't talk, but also, yeah, like my initial thought was, yeah, it's going to help Laviska Shenault get more touches. They're going to use him more like in the Deebo Samuel, I think, close to the line of scrimmage. Hopefully Urban Meyer knows how to manufacture touches for a wide receiver of that nature. I think it actually puts a little bit more significance on DJ Chark now, because if we're going to use Laviska Shenault in this kind of like low ADOT, lots of touch guys, I think DJ Chark was getting a lot of like negative energy this offseason because he got he had the offseason hand surgery. He broke his hand, and then Urban Meyer said he was playing small. So I think it kind of like moves pieces around. Like DJ Chark kind of comes back up like this, and Laviska Shenault's in a different role now. It kind of reshapes the entire offense. There's this ripple effect in the offense. And Marvin Jones kind of goes and plays the Z receiver, and DJ Chark goes back and takes the X spot. And, Shenault takes that Y spot. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's my prediction. Go ahead on your rant.
Okay, there's going to be a lot of back and forth, a lot of things where, I agree with some of the takes and some of them I don't agree with. So first of all, when the Jaguars selected Travis Etienne, when I was at the Jets Stadium when it happened, I wasn't overly happy at first because I did agree with a lot of people said they already had James Robinson, they had a lot of other needs. But the more I kind of thought about it, I thought it was good because a lot of teams do have multiple running backs, and a lot of people thought James Robinson would be done, even before this injury. And I always thought that James Robinson would be the more between the tackles guy. Etienne would do some, regular runs, but be in the slot a lot, get a lot of receptions and everything. So I'm sad that he can't play because I'm a Jags fan. I like Travis Etienne, and I wanted that to happen so I could do a victory lap about, because from the beginning I thought James Robinson would still have a big role. So after that, I do not think that Etienne injury changes at least the Jags' outlook in wins, because even though he is a talented player, their defense is still not very good. It's better than last year, but it's not good enough to win games. Their offensive line looks horrible, even though they were missing two starters this last game. And to talk about Trevor, a lot of people were saying that he didn't look good in the game against the Saints. I watched the whole game. He did not look amazing, but I think the lack of offense was not his fault. The linemen were getting pushed back. Little, the rookie from Stanford, he was getting bull rushed. The Saints have a very good defensive line. I did like that Trevor fought through some things, had a nice run, even though he got hit pretty hard. He hit some receivers. Another thing that I will admit that it looks like I'm going to be wrong is a lot of people are talking up Marvin Jones. I thought he would be a better NFL kind of football player for the Jags than fantasy relevant. But it looks like Trevor feels very comfortable with Marvin Jones, and he could have a very very solid year. So I will admit that, as of now, it kind of looks like I'm going to be wrong on that. And I also think I like DJ Chark. I think a lot of people are way too down on him. A lot of people are saying he was a one-hit wonder with that 1 year. But last year he was open many times and people couldn't get him the ball. From what, all the reports that Urban has been working with him one-on-one in practice before his injury. And I just don't think Urban would be doing that with a player that he doesn't plan on being involved. And to that, this team without DJ Chark, they in 3 wide receiver sets, they're playing LaVisca, Marvin Jones, and then Philip Dorsett. I mean, DJ Chark is a big upgrade over Philip Dorsett. I don't know why Colin Johnson isn't in those 3 wide receiver sets. So I think having a better third wide receiver on the field will help the offense, will get Trevor, kind of going. I do think they're still trying to figure out, like they're saying in the broadcast, what kind of team they were. I was surprised by when Urban hired Darrell Bevel. I didn't really understand that. So I think that's part of it. And now I'll get more into the rant about how people are saying Urban's going to get fired in the middle of the year. He's not going to make it to a second year. My thing is, I know college is different than the pros, but he's won everywhere he went. He's a good offensive mind. It might not work in Jacksonville. I agree. It might not work. But I'm not willing to say after 2 preseason games that he's going to get fired and everything. I don't hear anyone talking about Cliff Kingsbury that way, and he's never won anything anywhere. He shouldn't have gotten that Cardinals job based on what he's done as a head coach. Look at that talent with DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler, and some of those other players, Christian Kirk. They totally collapsed last year. I think that offense is not creative enough. I'm hoping he kind of expands it this year with Rondale Moore, but there's that, and there, in Cincinnati they haven't really done much, and I don't hear as much about that. So I think Urban will get the offense going. My biggest thing is everyone just piling on saying he's going to get fired. Gus Bradley with the Jags was here for 4 years. Our owner sometimes isn't hands-on enough, and he's going to get 2 to 3 years. And the other thing is, I don't know what people expected. This team was 1-15 last year. It lost 15 straight games. 15. And, the only team that's done worse than that are teams like the Lions that lost 16 games. And I don't really know what I would like the offense to look better also, but I don't know what they were really, people are expecting. Everyone was jumping on the Laviska Shenault, bandwagon because of what, Curtis Samuel did and what Percy Harvin did under Urban Meyer. But I don't think Laviska is necessarily that type of player. He's not just a speed player. He's a physical type player, but that can be used as a running back. And I kind of looked it up, because the hype on Laviska has been really big and everyone's saying that Urban doesn't know how to use him and everything. So last year in his first 2 games, in the regular season, 2 games, he had 6 catches, 72 yards, and 1 touchdown. In 2 preseason games, he has 7 catches for 50 yards. So in pretty much 2 quarters. So, he doesn't have the touchdown, but the yardage and the targets are there. So I think, as you'll talk about later about overreaction preseason, I think it's a huge overreaction. Like I said, I don't know if Urban's going to make the Jaguars good. I don't think they can be as bad as they were before, just as a good coach, just having a plan. I think, he'll be fine in that part. But that's my rant. I thought the Jaguars might win 7 games this year, just, with the talent and the coaching. From what I've seen, I don't think that, and with the ETN injury, I'm looking more at, 5, maybe 4 or 5 wins. But I just don't think it's going to be as much of a disaster as people are making it out to be. And, the other coaches get 2 or 3 years, and the Jags went out and got Urban, so I don't see them firing him, especially mid-year. So that is my rant.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say to that. There was a lot of good stuff in there. I never was on the Urban Meyer being fired mid-season. He was doing some stuff that was confusing to me, but he went and got Trevor Lawrence with their first pick. So, how bad could he have messed the job up? Fine, he got Travis Etienne in the first round too. That's fine, whatever. He wanted to pair Trevor Lawrence up with a running back that he was familiar with. I think he was doing him a favor. But yeah, it's pretty much spot on, man. I think you hit a lot of good points, and I wouldn't be surprised if they won more than 5 games this year. I wouldn't be surprised to see Lawrence just go straight into his old college form. He does look a little bit unnatural in that offense that Urban Meyer has introduced him to. It doesn't seem like, I'm just used to seeing Lawrence spread out with all his weapons and just kind of just chucking it and hitting guys, just throwing dimes. So it looks like a little bit of a transition period right now for Lawrence, but yeah, a lot of great points. Very well said, Brandon. You're the Jags fan. You're very passionate about it. I'm not going to really argue about it with you.
Yeah, I'll be the first one to say that they've messed up a lot, and I don't think Urban's perfect by any means, but I don't think he's won all these games, even in college, with not knowing what he's doing. He has a plan, and I think this first year was not going to be good regardless. I do think the defense is going to be better. They did mention in the broadcast that he said that they were doing a lot of vanilla things, not showing a lot. So I hope that, that's going to kind of change. And they still have James Robinson, and I don't know how much of that preseason game against the Saints you watched, but they couldn't run the ball at all.
I saw it. I watched it.
Yeah, I think that's a part. And they played 2 really good teams, even though they haven't played all the starters. They played the Saints and the Browns, which have very good defenses. I believe the Jags' first game is against the Texans. So if Deshaun Watson doesn't play, I like their chances of being able to to win that game. They might do like they did last year and lose all the rest, but at least they'll get the win out of the way. So now we'll now that we got that rant out of the way, we'll move on to doing some redraft kind of pick the player. I got a couple wide receivers and a couple running backs that are close in ADP. Actually, I think both of them are only a pick away from each other in ADP. So the first one is Allen Robinson versus Terry McLaurin. So in redraft, PPR, which one would you pick?
I would pick Allen Robinson primarily because he's essentially the only receiving threat on that entire team. You have Darnell Mooney there, and that's it. With Terry McLaurin, you got Ryan Fitzpatrick there, throwing to Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, and Adam Humphries. It's a little bit more. There's a little bit more distribution. I don't believe the pass attempts on that team are going to be as high as the Bears. primarily because they have one of the best defenses in the entire league. So it just really comes down to simple as that, like pass attempts and target share. That's it. And Allen Robinson also primarily first and above all, Allen Robinson is the better wide receiver. So that's where I'll go with that.
I think it's very close, but I'm going to actually go with Terry McLaurin because in one of my hot takes, I said he was going to finish top 5 wide receiver. So I've got to roll with that. I think Fitzpatrick hasn't looked great, but in the games that he's played preseason wise, from what I've seen, he targets McLaurin. Gets the ball to him. Even a couple incompletions, he gets him the ball deep, and kind of what A-Rob has had to deal with. Terry McLaurin's quarterbacks have been horrible. I'm not saying Fitzpatrick is a great quarterback, but he's by far the best quarterback he's played with, and I just think he's more the alpha type guy on that offense, and I don't know how they're going to use all the other parts, but you are right. They have more offensive weapons on Washington, but also with Chicago, I don't know how long Andy Dalton's going to play. I think Fields should play right away, but if they play Dalton longer, I don't know what that means for A-Rob, but I will take McLaurin because I've got to stick with my hot take. So the second one is Austin Eckler versus Aaron Jones. I know this changed a lot when Aaron Rodgers said he was going to play. So who do you have in this matchup?
Yeah, I was thinking about this one, and I initially thought I was like, oh, it's Aaron Jones automatically. But I kind of got to thinking about it more, and I felt like it was more of a trick question because you're like, oh, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams is gone, more targets, plays with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to necessarily say the offense is better because, the Chargers are, they got Justin Herbert back there throwing it. But the two backs share one negative aspect in common, and that is goal line touches. Now, when you look at Aaron Jones, they got A.J. Dillon back there, right? If I'm a coach, A.J. Dillon is, God, man, he's 6 foot something, 240 pounds, 250 pounds. The guy's an animal. He's a monster. That guy, it's not a reach to say that guy's going to take all the goal line touches, like all of them, maybe like 90% of them. And I think it's already been discussed that Austin Eckler is not going to get the majority of the goal line touches either. They're going to probably bring in Larry Roundtree, Justin Jackson, or Joshua Kelly, any of them. And Austin Eckler really historically hasn't been a great goal line back. But in the end of it, I'm going to say Aaron Jones just because he's the proven running back that we've seen do it year in and year out. He finishes top 10 or top. Yeah, I think he's finished top 10 pretty consistently. Austin Eckler just had we're Austin Eckler. What we're doing is we're projecting the 4 weeks that he played without Melvin Gordon. We're using that as our platform for excitement and just this we're getting worked up about it. Yeah, he's a great receiver, just like Aaron Jones. So it's close, but he's not a better runner than Aaron Jones. I'm not gonna believe that, and I'm a firm believer. I haven't been shaken off this idea yet that Austin Eckler is gonna have maybe 10 rushing attempts. He will have like maybe 6 targets throughout the per game throughout the year, but I think he's gonna have like about maybe just 10, 11, 12 rushing attempts a game. I think one of those 3 other backs are going to come in and take a lot of the rushing work from him. So I'm going Aaron Jones on this one.
So this is one that I've kind of struggled with too because it was weird before because I know Matthew Berry has always said this, hashtag free Aaron Jones because, whether it was with McCarthy, or now, just for some reason they don't want to give Aaron Jones all the work. With Jamal Williams, he would get some of the goal line carries, which I don't consider Jamal Williams a goal line back, and he would get a lot of the receptions. So that was always interesting. But Aaron Jones, even though people always talk about him not getting the bulk of the touches, he always finishes very high, as a running back. So that's something you have to take into consideration. And I do wonder because, like you said, A.J. Dillon is just a huge man. And in that one game last year he played against the Titans, he looked very good. And I do think he's going to get a lot of the goal line carries. But the thing that kind of kept Aaron Jones before was he wouldn't get all the receptions because Jamal Williams was in there a lot. getting those. But I don't know if A.J. Dillon's going to get those receptions. So maybe I don't know if that means they're going to use maybe Kylan Hill more on that type of thing. So, but I think Aaron Jones obviously is still going to be great. And I'll probably be wrong with this because Aaron Jones always proves me wrong. But I'm going with Austin Eckler just because, like you said, if he gets the ball thrown to him 6 times, say he, let's go low. Let's say he gets 5 receptions a game. So that's 5 points right there. And anywhere from 20 to 50 yards. So that's like 8 or 9 points right there. Then put in the 10 rushes, even just 40 yards on 10 rushes. That gets you to around 12 points, PPR wise. And that's all, being very conservative. So I don't think he even needs the goal line carries. It's just for running backs that are good receivers, especially in the PPR format, as long as they get the targets, it's just so much easier for them to meet certain thresholds for point-wise, where not to say Aaron Jones isn't a good receiver. I just don't know if the Packers will get him the ball enough for him to get that, easy, type floor that Eckler might have. And like I said, I always doubt Aaron Jones, and it always comes back to bite me. So I might be wrong on this one, but I'm going to go with Austin Eckler.
Well, I will say that, Austin Eckler doesn't need touchdowns, but it's kind of like catch the ceiling a lot, right? When you say that he won't be, and the same for Aaron Jones. And again, going back to my A.J. Dillon statement about him taking goal line touches, if we remember Matt LaFleur with his time with the Tennessee Titans, he had DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry there. I believe DeMarco Murray was still getting the goal line carries, even with Derrick Henry there. And Derrick Henry in his second year, in his first year, he wasn't really a threat to Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon is still way big. I think he's considerably still larger than Derrick Henry, even though Derrick Henry is a massive person. So we'll see. I mean, just because there are those huge, massive running backs on those teams, they don't necessarily get the carries. So I think that adds a little bit more edge to Aaron Jones for me. Anyways, I just want to finish off on that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. And the Titans always were kind of confusing where they would not play Derrick Henry, until, players got injured, and then they finally let him play. And you saw he was breaking all these tackles and everything. I just have to imagine that drafting A.J. Dillon that high, that they want to get him the ball a good amount. But like we said before, Aaron Jones did fine with sharing carries and goal line touches with Jamal Williams. So, like I said, I am willing to say that I could be very wrong on this, but you are right about the ceiling. I don't think Eckler has the ceiling of being a top 5 running back. I think he's squarely in the 8 to 12 spot as a running back, which is still very good. Whereas Aaron Jones does have the ability to be a top 5 running back. So that is correct. So we'll move on from redraft, and now we'll go into a more fun topic. We're going to give our top 5 cocktails. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to go number 5, and then we each give one, go back and forth?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. You go first. I'll let you go first. I'll let you go for the. I'm really interested by your drinks.
Yeah, they're kind of all over the board. So number 5 for me is a peach margarita. I'm a big fan of drinks that have some sort of fruit flavor in them. And then there's a Mexican place very close to our house that's very good. They have these peach margaritas. I've really been on a kick for, eating peaches, drinking peach type things. So it's a delicious peach margarita. Margaritas are great with chips and salsa and Mexican food. So that is one of my go-tos right now.
Dude, I'm so bummed that you put margarita, because I was going to put a margarita too, because I love I get hankerings for margaritas all the time. So I'm bummed that I didn't put it on there to complement your margarita on your list. But my number 5 it's called the Salty Dog, which is basically if you take a Greyhound, if you don't know what a Greyhound is vodka and grapefruit juice, pretty much. That's all it is on ice. Mix it up. It's really good. It's more of a kind of a nighttime beverage, but if you put salt on the rim, it's called a Salty Dog Greyhound. So it's my nighttime drink, and I'm a daytime. I prefer drinking in the daytime. I like brunch. I like daytime activities. At nighttime, I want to come home and just chill out. But yeah, so number 5 is Salty Dog.
Okay, I'm not big into grapefruit juice, but I've never heard of that drink being called that. So maybe I'll have to try it someday. So number 4 for me is what's called a bee's knees, and it's gin, honey, and lemon juice. So a lot of my friends aren't big gin drinkers, but I like gin. And this drink I actually found there's a kind of a craft cocktail place in Jacksonville in the Riverside area, and it's connected to a pizza place. So, perfect pairing, pizza and, these drinks. It does take a little while because they're all these craft cocktails where they have to get all these ingredients and it takes forever to mix and everything. But that drink's very good. And like I said, I'm a big fan of gin, and I was at a wedding a few years ago, and they had a bottle of gin. I'm pretty sure I was the only one drinking it, and the bottle was gone by the end of the reception.
Well, so I'm proud of you for that. That's awesome. I that sounds good. I'm gonna need the recipe for that. So I mean, you're gonna have to find out what the recipe is for that and send it my way, because that looks delicious. My number 4 drink is called the Michelada, which is it's a Mexican concoction that have you ever heard of micheladas?
Yeah, I've had them before. They're good.
Yeah, so I live in Southern California. We have a large Hispanic community out here. I lived out here my entire life, and I've never had a michelada until like 3 years ago or 4 years ago when I went on a surf trip, and we were down at the beach, and we were hanging out down there in Mexico, and 2 local women came down, and they were making pina coladas, and they were making micheladas for $5 a piece. So I bought a michelada, and they gave me a michelada like that big, dude. And I took a sip of it, and I thought it was the most amazing thing in the world. And it's such a great drink to have everywhere around here. Anywhere you can go, you can get a michelada. It's almost like a Mexican Bloody Mary kind of. That's what it tastes like. It might be even better. I don't know. It's really good though. So that's my number 4.
Yeah, and funny you say that. I've been to Mexico at some of the all-inclusive resorts, and I've had the micheladas a lot, in the morning. So those are very good. So number 3 for me is what's called a Miami Vice. So if you don't know what that is, it's a frozen drink. It is a mix of a pina colada and a strawberry daiquiri. So it is. Yeah, it's
good.
delicious.
That sounds good, dude. That sounds good.
Yeah, so a lot of the drinks too, that I like because I live in Florida in the hot weather, that cool you down, poolside drinks. That actually was the first drink I bought my brother when he turned 21. It was funny. We were at Chili's because I feel like when you turn 21, most of me and my friends went to Chili's, for the 2-for-1s and everything. So I asked for that, and they had no idea what I was talking about. So I had to tell them what it was, but it's a delicious drink.
That sounds delicious. I like your style of cocktails, dude. You can definitely buy me a cocktail anytime you want. I'll just give you money, and I'll just like, dude, just get me whatever, because judging by your list, it looks delicious. So my number 3 is it's called the Moscow Mule. I'm sure you've heard of that, right?
Yeah, that's probably number 6 on my list. That was close to the top 5 for me.
Cool. Yeah, so it's pretty much it's vodka, lime juice, ginger beer, and that's pretty much it. And it goes down so good. They serve it. If you haven't had it, they serve it like kind of like they traditionally serve in these little brass cups. It keeps it ice cold. The ginger beer makes the vodka to go down effortlessly. If you're not like really big into tasting alcohol when you have your drinks, it goes down so fast and it's so dangerous. Like 3 of them, and you're like, hey, I'm having way too much fun right now. Maybe I should kick back on these things for a second. And I don't do that. I push forward. I keep going. Give me another one. Give me another. They're so delicious, dude. They're so delicious. I'll drink till I fall asleep. Either that or I get into a cab and I go home and I don't say bye to anybody. They just look at me and they're like, he's going to get in a cab in like 20 minutes and get the hell out of here. I go, yeah. Don't be surprised when I just ghost out of the scene because I'm way too hammered. So, yeah, Moscow Mule is number 3.
So you're one of those. I have a friend that we call him the escape artist because he just literally disappears, like, and we never know where he is. So if anything ever happened to him, we wouldn't know because he disappears. So But yeah, so Moscow mules are very good, but I have been to bars where they do not have those cups, and
Oh,
they just give it to you in a normal glass, and it's not nearly as good. It's not
doesn't
nearly as
work.
good.
That's pointless.
Yeah. So now,
They should just call that drink. They should just call that drink Jack. They should just call it a Jackass instead of a Moscow Mule because it's just so bad.
yeah. All right. So second for me is a Bloody Mary. I'm big on starting out with a Bloody Mary if I'm day drinking or going for brunch. I have a couple of those. While I eat, I love them mostly because they come with green olives most of the time, and I'm a big olive fan. So I love that because a lot of times when you order brunch, it takes a little time. So I have kind of a little snack while I drink my cocktail, waiting for my breakfast. And also, Bloody Marys are good if you've kind of not feeling great from the night before and just need a little pick me up.
Yeah.
So that is my number two.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing eye to eye at number two. I'm Bloody Mary as well at number two. I think besides for the fact that we're huge Kenny Gainwell fans, I think we're at the same level of enthusiasm for Bloody Marys that we are with Kenny Gainwell. So we're like right there with the two. Bloody Marys are just like the most delicious drink. I could drink them anytime, but they're also really great in the morning when you're waiting for food, for brunch. I don't like olives. I only like olives in Bloody Marys. Only the green ones with the red things inside of it. I don't even know what that red stuff is, but I love it. It tastes so good. And then you can put like a nice, I've made them at home where I've taken bacon and I've put the bacon in the oven and then put the bacon in the Bloody Mary, because if you cook it in the oven, it comes out, it maintains its integrity, its size, instead of cooking in a pan and then you get this little stupid puny piece of bacon. So when you put a piece of bacon in the oven, put it in my Bloody Mary, you still have this like solid strip of bacon in there along with the olives. It's like, and it's so good, dude. Like a couple of those, so right. It's a great way to start off like a hungover like Saturday morning. So yeah, Bloody Mary at number two, easy.
So number one for me is a mango mojito. So I actually started drinking these the night that I proposed to my wife. We went to this nice steakhouse, and I saw, I wasn't even a big fan of mojitos before that, but I saw it was a mango mojito. I was sweating so bad in the restaurant. For some reason, I decided it was a good idea to wear a suit. So I had some of those. And then to, kind of continue on the story, we're sitting at a table. They don't even have real candles. They have one, the electronic ones. And I just kept on telling my wife that, it's just so hot because, of all these candles in here. And I kept on sweating. And then, I took my jacket off. And then before I proposed, I put the jacket back on, for the picture. And then she kept on saying, why are you putting it back on? I'm like, I'm cold now, even though I'm still sweating down my face and everything. So, yeah, mango mojitos for me, pretty much, like I said about having fruit in my cocktails, some sort of fruit flavoring. Big fan of mango. So mango mojito is top of my list.
I don't know how anybody can go out with you and not enjoy the drinks that you have. Like if you buy them one drink off this list, if they don't like any of that, then I don't even know what they're doing coming out. They should just stay home because those sound so good, man. Those that list is way better than my list, dude. I'm like, my number one is mimosa, just because I'm a big brunch guy, dude. Like mimosas get me going so quickly. I don't know what it is about them, dude, but like if somebody tells me, hey, let's go to this place, and I'm like, nah. And then they say they have bottomless mimosas. I'm like, let me get my shoes. I'll be right back. The two best words together are bottomless mimosas. Bottomless is a great word. Mimosa is a great word. And when you take the two words and put bottomless mimosas together, it's heaven, dude. Like pay $15 and you just get infinite mimosas with waffles, chicken and waffles, and like some mac and cheese, whatever you get for brunch, And then you just keep pouring those back, and then you have some of those, and then by like 1 o'clock, you go home for a nap and you wake up and you feel all right. You feel pretty good. You have some water, you have a big glass of water, and you carry on with your day. Great way to start the day with mimosas. I love it.
I do agree. Mimosas are usually the only thing that is bottomless. I used to be a huge mimosa fan. And I think because I indulged a little too much on some of the bottomless mimosa days, I don't like them nearly as much. And two, I feel like sometimes the drinking that much orange juice kind of makes me a little sick with all the sugar. But mimosas are great, and bottomless mimosas. I don't even know why restaurants do that. They have to lose money on that deal when especially the ones that will set the bottle of champagne on your table. We've done it before where we tell them just keep on bringing the bottles because we're going to need more.
Well, like you said in the very beginning, you said a bottomless mimosa is the only thing that's bottomless. Well, when I'm done with bottomless mimosas, there's another thing that's bottomless, and that's me.
Oh, so those are our top five cocktails. So we'll finish up the show where we kind of just talk about preseason. So I'll start with one thing that I've seen from preseason that I'm surprised by, and so it's Kyler Murray. I watched their second preseason game last week. Like I said, I know it's preseason. There's probably a little bit of overreaction, but I think he completed one pass for 2 yards for the 4 drives he was in. He did not look great. He looked like he was not seeing the field very well. He was holding on to the ball. He's still, Kyler is super fast and he's a great runner. But as we saw last year, if he gets dinged up, that team pretty much goes into the toilet. And he was still running a little too much for my liking. And with Rondale Moore there, if he's open, he just needs to let it fly. And same with DeAndre Hopkins, which he does a lot. But, I mean, he doesn't need to hold on to that ball. Part of it, too, is probably Cliff Kingsbury. Like I said, a lot of people think he's an offensive genius, but he's very vanilla in what he does. That's why Kenyon Drake got all those touchdowns last year, because all he would do in the red zone is just hand the ball to Kenyon Drake, even though, they had DeAndre Hopkins. And I hope, I think A.J. Green is nowhere near what he used to be, but I think as a third option, as a big-bodied receiver, that should help also. But I was just hoping to see more out of Kyler, more crisp plays, and I didn't see that. And, a lot of people are projecting Kyler to be in that top 3, this year. I've seen some people say he could finish as the number 1 quarterback. And just, some of those things kind of worry me because I think he's a very good fantasy quarterback. But sometimes as a pure, NFL quarterback, I think there are things to be desired. Sometimes I don't think his accuracy is great. He has a hell of an arm, and like I said, he's very fast. But those are some things that I hope, it was just preseason he gets ironed out because, I'm banking on him a lot in fantasy. So that's kind of what I've seen. And another thing I wanted to talk about preseason, I feel like this year more teams are resting their starters and not playing starters. And there's one less game, so I don't really understand that. And as a new coach, like for the Chargers, I don't believe they're playing any of their starters, at least so far. I would think with a new coach, you would at least want to get them in there for a couple series. So I don't really understand that. For teams that have been together for a long time, I understand not playing them. But even, Big Ben, he wanted to get in there for a couple series with the Steelers to, with a new offense and get that going when he probably doesn't need that time. And a couple other quarterbacks probably don't need to be in the game and they still play. So that's at least my thoughts. And I know you have you wanted to have a little bit of a rant over preseason overreaction. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, this really didn't start up until the whole Jamar Chase. This reporter came out and said Jamar Chase is going to be switching plays with Auden and be on and off field. I read that and I just was like, can the season just start already? Because I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of beat writers and reporters saying the dumbest stuff. It's tricky because we're latching on to whatever data point we can find, right? We're trying to find comments, coach speak, whatever we can find. And ADP is freaking going up and down roller coaster every single day because somebody says one thing and then people are selling shares and buying shares. It's insane what's happening right now. And I put a post on Twitter and I said, okay, guys, disregard the Jamar Chase comment that the beat writer reported. And some people were like, you can't disregard negative news. It's like, yeah, you can't, but sometimes you have to, man. You have to. Did we just forget who Jamar Chase is? Because one guy said something It's completely stupid. It's the dumbest thing. Jamar Chase is a baller, dude. He's one of the top prospects who have come out in such a long time. He is not a bad football player. Don't sell him for anything. He maintains his value through all of this because he had 3 or 4 drop balls. Man, who cares? You saw him catch 1,000 balls in college. You've seen him catch 1,000,000 balls in college every which way. And because he had 4 when he forgot how to play football, he's not good at playing football anymore because he dropped 4 balls in the first preseason NFL debut. Whatever, like, what, you're scared of Jamar Chase now? Like, I'm guilty of like falling for traps in preseason, and I've been through like 10 preseasons already, and I've fallen through multiple traps. And like, if you're new to this, this is not geared towards you, but to you people who rile up the crowd and who have been doing this, who should know better. You should know better than this than to get feeding to this Jamar Chase kind of stuff. Know better. Be better than that. Stop it. Stop it. With some players, it's justifiable. Not with a player like Jamar Chase. Let's just stop this madness. I'm so tired of the preseason. Let's just get the season started. My eyes are gonna fall out of my head and my brain's gonna leak out of my ears if you don't just get this freaking season started already. I almost cussed like 8,000 times, and I'm really trying to keep the show clean. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of the knee-jerk reactions. I'm so tired of it. That's my rant.
Well, I hadn't heard that one about on Tate. That one's bad. That one's super bad because
So bad.
I can even entertain saying, with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, maybe, then get more targets if he continues to, drop passes or whatever. But Auden Tate's not going to play over Jamar Chase. They drafted him top 5. They're not going to. Yeah, that's ridiculous. And yes, so everyone, overreacts to things that have happened in preseason. I know I've done that. I've been very excited, and I've said it on the show, what Rondale Moore has shown in his little time playing, and it's probably overreaction. I've overreacted.
I don't think that is. Sorry, I don't think that is. I don't think Rondale Moore is an overreaction. I think that's justifiable. I mean, like, anyways, go ahead. Sorry, that's another discussion. Go ahead.
No, yeah, and just other things. I'm, like I said, with the Kyler thing, probably overreacting a little bit to him playing poorly, in just a couple quarters. But I would like to see. I think everyone's expecting him to grow in his 3rd year, so I would like to see, some more, Christmas in that offense and everything. I know DeAndre Hopkins wasn't playing. It just wasn't something I wanted to see. I was excited that I was going to get to watch Kyler. Hoping that, he could lead some drives and everything. So that's probably a little bit of a overreaction, kind of like all these people going crazy because Urban hasn't named Trevor Lawrence the starter. He's the starter. It's only, Urban's little mind games, which, we can talk about how he shouldn't do that in the NFL, which I agree. But he's just trying to keep everyone involved. And I think from what I've heard, both of them have looked good in camp, and they're probably just rewarding Gardner for continuing working hard, even though he knows, there's very little chance he's going to beat out Trevor. But as you saw, in the preseason game, he's not really that much he didn't play any better than Trevor. I know he's in with the second team, but he's also going against second and third defensive players. So it's just crazy with all that. And with, Twitter and all the social media, I think all these Tates just come out even more during preseason.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be first, and when they say things, so they're just throwing anything out there, but I agree. It's for new football fans or new fantasy, football players. These hot takes probably lead them down the wrong path. So I guess the thing is just beware of, listen to all these hot takes and don't take everything that's been said in preseason, even what coaches say, like Bruce Arians always talks up a running back, and then, they don't do anything. Like he was talking up Vaughn last year, and he got in, very little. He's been talking up Gio Bernard, so I've heard everyone talking that up, which I like Gio, but I don't believe Bruce Arians until I see it on the field, because he's one of those guys that I think just talks up players, and it doesn't necessarily translate on the field.
For sure.
Okay, so that is the show for tonight. So we'll have this on YouTube and streaming, and also on our Twitter bio. We created a page where it has all the links for all of our social media accounts. We're now on Apple, so you can listen to us on Apple, and please leave a review if you listen there. We're also on Spotify. So my name is Brandon at Haybe3.
Yes, and I am Zareh Rant at ZCantsFF.
All right, have a good week, guys.